listening on this live broadcast from Albert Baldeo, your community advocate and community leader and former district leader, first district leader to be elected in the community of Richmond and Lozone Park. Also, I wanted to bring greetings to you. I wanted to ask you to keep strong, continue to fight the virus, continue to do what you're doing, and make sure that you protect yourselves and your family. Remember to wipe your groceries, whether it's milk or orange juice or containers or cans, tin stuff, whatever it is. Wipe it with a uh, something that can take away the germs, the Clorox bleach or the wipes, and make sure that when you put them in a refrigerator, that because the virus can survive in cold temperatures. As a matter of fact, studies have shown that the virus thrives in cold temperatures, and therefore your refrigerator could be a breeding ground for the virus. So be careful going forward that you wipe all your products, wash them, wipe them, and then wash your hands. You have to make sure you wash your hands before or after you've finished to make sure that you do not transport the viruses. They do survive in cold temperatures, and hence a refrigerator could be a breeding ground for the virus. And it's no use you take all precautions, and then the weakness in your home is the items you buy from the supermarket or the items you store in your refrigerator that are not wiped and can help the virus to germinate or to spread or to mutate. So take all precautions and continue to do that. That's one of the things that I researched and found out. It's a common mistake in many households in this community of Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, Briarwood, Queens Village, Flora Park, Belrose, and Jamaica. One has got to be very careful in terms of storing your refrigerator. What the items you store in your refrigerator, you've got to take all the precautions. And at this time of Passover, Easter, the Hindu holidays, Pagwa, this is actually the triumph of good over evil. And in the wider context, it is also the triumph of us as humanity over the evil of the coronavirus. So you've got to continue to pray and believe and be strong that we will be able to confront and conquer this virus very soon. This would mean the ultimate triumph of good over evil. The virus is evil. It is something that just came upon us. It's like the plague. And therefore, we have to unite and fight for each other, help each other out, have each other's backs, and make sure that we can have a better society and a better community. As you know, our community has always been shortchanged. We've never had the resources, we've never had the voices, we've never had the representation that we deserve. We've been paying our taxes. We are a very large community. We're the second largest. Guyanese are the second largest in New York City, second largest group. And yet there's no federal, state, or city council representative. I have been doing my best in terms of giving you a face and a voice, and also trying to make sure that we can have a voice in the process. So far, I have never been paid, never asked for anything, always been a volunteer, always been able to give my voice to issues and my support for issues that are better for the betterment of this community as a whole. Nothing personal, nothing selfish. It has always been for the betterment of our community. So those who are quick to put down and criticize, always make sure you walk a mile in someone's shoes or just walk a few steps before they begin to badmouth them. You will see that that journey is not an easy one, that they can make good or made bad out of good people, try to destroy them. But with the help of Lord Krishna and Allah and Jesus Christ and all the deities, the Bible and all the doctrines of Thotus, all the theological doctrines point to one solution, that good will triumph over evil and that God will protect his disciples. He will also protect those who do good for others. And that is why I stand firm today and stand strong with you and stand fighting, coming out a stronger person than in my past experiences, overcoming evil and being an inspiration to others, being a torch for others to carry, and making sure that we too can live the American dream. In a society that is short of heroes and that is short of people who want to give back, people who want to do the right thing, our society can do with a few of us, more of us. Now, I want to touch a very basic issue that's been happening in our community, and that is that we have all these healthcare workers and firefighters and police officers and people who are in the front line. And these people and these folks, these very good public servants, are out there every day. The nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the police officers, the National Guard, just about all these frontline workers are out there every day putting their lives on the line and putting their families at risk and their own well-being and health. And it's a big sacrifice. And we thank them and we commend them for that. And we thank them for what they've been doing. However, there should be a fund similar to the 9/11 fund that was set up after 9/11 to pay compensation and to help those who have suffered from this crisis. And that needs to happen now. There should, in fact, be a permanent fund for issues like these. And that fund ought to be able to pay these folks and also people who were killed in the virus for compensation without them having to go to court and sue the city for negligence or the state or the World Health Organization or the Department of Health or whoever may have been negligent and not for warning and for telling that there would be a coronavirus. All the experts out there without having to go through that bureaucracy of the court system. The court system is the most fallible and unreliable system that we have in society today in just about every country. There's always something lacking, some procedural error, some technical flaw, some frivolous filing. We'll get to the Guyana situation where there's a lot of that going on right now. But right here in New York State, right here in New York City, we need to have a fund set up called a Victims Compensation Fund that will help workers and firefighters and healthcare workers and transit workers and bus drivers and just about everybody, even the taxi drivers, our Sikh brothers, who many of whom are the Bengali folks, our brothers and sisters, who are taxi drivers also. They should have some kind of compensation set up for their families. So when they're on timely and sad and painful bereavement, which has happened and will continue to happen until the virus is kept under control. And people who have suffered unnecessarily have had their lives brought to an end prematurely. Their family should not have to bother where the next food is coming from, where the next meal is coming from, where the next help is coming from. And I see Sabine French. Good afternoon, Sabine, Sharon Singh, Geeta Mohan. And Sabine, I hope you can take us to the public advocate. Jumani Williams, very dear friend of our community, a fighter for all, that there should be a fund set up to compensate people who have suffered as a result of this crisis. People like who have been in the front lines, the firefighters, the nurses, the doctors, the hospital workers. These people have had to put their lives at risk, and many have died and will continue to die, unfortunately, until we can get a grip of this situation. Those folks need to be compensated. Those folks need to have a fund that they can go to, so to have their families to continue their education, continue a standard of life, and to make sure that we can have a better life. So, Sabine, I hope you can convey this to the public advocate, Giovanni Williams, that he can then lobby the governor and the mayor to set up such a fund at the various levels, and also the federal government, which has been very slow and has had a lot of bureaucratic delays in giving out benefits like unemployment benefits and all these other assistance that are justly deserved by the people. This has to stop. That has to be done. My brother Milan, thank you very much, sir. Welcome. Salaam alaikum. As you know, Milan has been back in our society, and we thank Allah for that. Inshallah, welcome back, brother. He's been a labor activist, lead organizer for Unite Here, and there's no other time than to unite at this point in time. And Milan, we need your leadership here, brother, as we go forward. So all our communities, be it Bengali, Sikh, Guyanese, Trinidadian, Surinamese, Sri Lankan, whatever we may have, we must have to do that. And hence, we have to get that done. Sabine, yeah, sorry, no day off for you. You know, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And you're a tough cookie. You know that, Sabine. You have been in the forefront. You're actually preparing for public office. So that is how serving the people is. I've been doing this for over 20 years, never received a cent or a dime for it. Always a volunteer. Robbed of elections, never put in office, won my office, my district leadership by 80% of the vote, never embraced by the powers that be, because of my independence. But I've continued to fight in a struggle because public service is a special calling. Not everyone can go out there. Not everyone wants to get bullets in their back or become a target. And though somebody's got to do that. And I have given back to my society as someone who has been blessed with some sort of feeling for humanity. I've given back and I've asked for nothing and I've received nothing in return. And I guess my blessings will be from the God Almighty who I worship and who I get my inspiration from. So that being said, after that 9/11 compensation, I want to talk about the public transportation system. The public transportation is still going on, and we thank you for that. But I do believe that in communities, minority communities, and communities of color, like Richmond Hill and Ozone Park and Queens Village, we have had a situation where there's too much overcrowding in the buses and in the public Subash, thank you very much, sir. And also in the subways. And here's the problem. The problem is that they have cut some of the lines, some of the services has been cut back. And that may be understandable in the circumstances, but now we've got to adjust. So the person in charge there who replaced, the various personnel in charge of scheduling and services ought to make sure that there is some sort of increased service in Richmond Hill and Ozone Park. We had that subway that you have the first elevator at the Lefferts and Liberty subway line. And it took us 15 years to fight for that. And we had to threaten to sue the MTA under the American with Disabilities Act. They were not going to give us that elevator and they were not going to complete it. They had it at one stage like a white elephant, just sitting there, not operated, not fully functional, not functional at all. And our disabled folks and sick folks and senior citizens were struggling to get to the subways. They are entitled to equal treatment under the law, and hence we were able to threaten the MTA with a lawsuit in accordance with the American with Disabilities Act that they were liable in damages and in breach of our human fundamental rights. And hence they then adopted and quickly put the subway, but that was a fight that took us 15 to 20 years. I think that's very unfair. There's a lot of revenue that comes from the subways and the buses, and hence we should not be treated this way like what we experienced in the elevated Lefferts and Liberty, which took us 20 years of a big battle with the MTA to have installed. And thankfully, we finally won that battle as it should be, but we should never have to fight for these basic amenities in a civilized and democratic society. And unfortunately, we had to in that case. Now, as regards the buses and the subways, we should have an increased service, especially at rush hour times, because people still have to fight to work. There's no dole that come to our doorsteps for people here. There's no public assistance that comes to them, no food stamps, and help of that nature. It is too late, or it's going to be bureaucratically delayed at this point in time. Hence, many of them, unfortunately, have to continue to work, whether you like it or not, whether you advise it or not, because they would have to put food on the table. And there are no handouts there. There's no resources coming. There's nothing coming to these communities of Ozone Park, Richmond Hill, Briarwood, Queens Village, Belrose, and so forth. Ramdat. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the problem we have. Therefore, you should keep the subways open and keep more service on the buses and the trains in our community, especially since we have high density areas and many people depend on that train to get around where they're doing. Now, I just talked to you about the importance of getting involved in the census, and I've always been telling you this. I suppose many of you are now pretty fed up hearing it, but you need to hear it again. You have got to fill out the census forms because everything depends on that. All these issues you talk about, that we don't get any help, we don't get any resources, we don't get any representation, that needs to be addressed by you. You need to fill out the census forms, and it'll take you 3 minutes. Now, there are three ways of filling out the census form, and that is your civic duty. It is against the law, by the way, not to fill out the census forms. You are mandated by law to fill it. So fill it so that you won't run afoul of the law or have people coming to your doors and knocking on them and disturbing you, exposing you to risk with the virus and things like that. Now, you can use the forms that you have. It has a specific ID number on it, and you fill that out. You fill out your entire household on it. You may just have to fill out one form. It'll take you 3 to 5 minutes, and hence you can get that done. And I'm sure you fill out that form there, Nazir Salim. Welcome. Assalamu alaikum. And I'm sure you fill it out within 2 to 3 minutes. Just make sure you fill it out. You know why? If you don't fill it out, we will get nothing. We will not get any sanitizers. We will not get any masks. We will not get any foodstuffs. We will not get any representation. We will continue to be living in a cycle of poverty and deprivation. You will continue to be second-class citizens. You will be living as orphans and refugees. You will never live the full height of the American dream. You need to do this now, and you need to do this. All of you need to fill out that form, and you don't have to pay for it. That's the thing. You don't have that voting. You don't have to pay to do it. You just have to walk a few blocks to that voting poll, that voting site, that poll site. A few blocks. How much does that take from you? You don't even have to take a cab. It's a shame that so many of us live in America and we don't even do the census form, nor do we vote. And yet we're the first to say, I want this, I need this, I'm entitled to this. Why am I not getting this? Why are my kids being thrown out of school? Why am I being discriminated against? Why I can't do this? Why I'm being discriminated at work? Why I'm being affected here? Why I'm being exploited? You sow what you reap. If you don't reap the benefits or sow the seeds in a participatory democracy as we have in America, and you bring the bad ways that we had in Guyana and elsewhere in India and Bangladesh here, then you get nothing, zero. Let me repeat that. You get zero if you do not participate in the process, if you do not fill out the forms for census, if you do not become a citizen, and if you don't vote. And you can walk and picket how much you want. It will amount to nothing, and you will remain voiceless and defenseless and unheard and unaccounted for. So make sure, and if I sound very spirited here, it's because I have a right to be. I lost a state Senate seat in 2008 by people who were in the rum shops drinking. They did not go out and vote. We lost by 500 votes. We would have had a state Senate seat since 2008. 2008, we should have already had a state Senate seat for Richmond and Ozone Park, a seat at the table of government. The Said Wazim, a brother who stood with me all these years. Said, welcome. Assalamu alaikum, brother. And he has always been voting and filling out census and getting involved in the process. And everybody needs to do that. You can't wait. America is done by data, by figures, by math. You have to make sure you count. And you don't count if you don't fill out the census form. You don't count if you don't vote. You don't count if you don't get involved in the process. You don't count if you just withdraw and go in a back room and sit. No, that's not the American way. You've got to be able to have a voice. Or if you don't have a voice or you're too scared to speak, then you've got to empower people like me who are willing to stand up and take the bullets for you. We don't get paid for this, and we never ask for payment. But we need support. We need people to stand behind us. If you can't lead, if you want to lead, I'll stand behind you. If you want to lead, I will stand behind you. If you don't want to lead and take the bullets and have the targets on your back, then get out of the way and join the line. Join behind us and come with us. If you cannot lead and you cannot advocate for issues and you're scared, don't criticize. Don't be a naysayer. Walk a mile in our shoes. Stand with us at the very minute. Stand up and be counted. Like a census said, stand up and be counted. Subhash Tapart, welcome, sir. We'll tell you that's how it is. So you have to be involved, brothers and sisters. You have to be with the process. You've got to do what you have to do. The census doesn't bring immigration to your doorsteps. ICE has nothing to do with census. There are laws that protect you from that. There are lawyers standing by to protect you from any kind of deportation or any kind of untoward action taken by people who's going to say, well, when I fill out the census forms, ICE is going to come and grab me. And coming and talking about that, you don't have to open your doors to any ICE or any person. Your home is your castle, as I've always told you. Unless they have a warrant, you don't have to open your door. So you have a right to privacy under the Constitution. You have a right to your home. You have a right to freedom from harassment in your home and elsewhere. And therefore, you don't open your door if you don't feel comfortable with opening it, especially in these times with the virus going around and in order for you to have peace of mind. So let's settle this issue once and for all. You don't have to open your door, but you have to fill out the form. Fill out the forms, send it in the mail. Now, when you do that, you can also go online. You can fill out the forms online. And online is go to my2020, my2020census.gov. That's my2020census.gov. It is very simple. Esther, cause how are you? Bisoon, all the way from Florida. Thanks for joining us. Very nice photograph of the family in Siblings Day. I like that picture. Very great picture. Now, my2020census.gov is what we're talking about. Mark Anthony Bob, the great cricketer, how are you, sir? Nice to see you joining us. My2020census.gov is an online site that you go and you fill out the form. On my2020census.gov, you go on that website and you make sure that you fill out the form. And in order to fill out the form, you just have to click a few strokes. You just have to click a few of the keystrokes on your laptop or your phone, iPhone. Yes, you could fill it on your iPhone. Just type in my2020census.gov. That's my2020census.gov. Fill it out on the iPhone. I just heard someone say, oh, we don't have a laptop, we don't have a computer. Well, you have your iPhone. That's a computer. An iPhone is a computer, and you can fill it out on that. And if you don't make another excuse, then I'm sure you have a phone. The same phone, hard line, ordinary phone, or as long as it has a line, dial this number 844-330-2020. That's 844-330-2020. Very simple. 2020. 844-330-2020. Last time, 844-330-2020. Census. You can call it in. It's a toll-free line. You don't have to pay. Most of the great rights in America, you don't have to vote. You don't have to pay. Census, voting, and making sure you're counted. You don't have to pay anything for that. So if you don't do that, then you'll be doing yourselves a disservice. You'll be being a hypocrite, and you'll actually be being a very pitiful soul. And I hate to tell you this, but you'll be depriving not only yourself, but your families and generations to come and your grandchildren and your children and yourself of a proper seat at the table of government. And you will not have any voice. You will not have any representation. And you can criticize as much as you want. There are many more civic minded people out there who will do it and who will understand and experience. And right now, the virus is a lesson for us. The virus is a lesson for us. And that lesson, brothers and sisters, is that if you don't have a voice, you don't get any resources. And that has been happening in our community. We don't get a mask, we don't even get a sanitizer, we don't get anything in this community. I've just come back from going out on the road in risk and giving out masks and foodstuffs to people, and also rushing back to have a bath to make sure that I can be there for my family. Now, is that right for someone to keep spending money out of their pockets for others when the federal government and the state government and the city government has our tax dollars that's supposed to come back to help us for these things? No, that is not fair. But that is a situation in which it is. You see, in other more affluent places like Manhattan, you certainly would have more representation because they don't play out there. They make their voices heard. We now, little squeaksy mouses in Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, and Briarwood and Queens Village, and I don't mean all of us, but those who are guilty, and you know who you are, those of you who have never voted, those of you who have refused to become citizens of this great country, and or have dual citizenship. You can be dual citizenship of both Guyana and United States of America, and I believe that also applies to India and I think for Bangladesh. So if those folks who just want to just have like remain uh, quote unquote nationalist for Guyana or patriot, you're wrong. You can be a patriot for America also and a nationalist here and enjoy the benefits of both worlds in the sense that you live here. You're not going to get any oil wells from Guyana. You're vested here. You need to build here. You need to get back what you put in from the taxes and the social security system. And the only way to do that is to participate in our democracy by getting involved in the census and voting. And I can never, ever underestimate or play down the importance of this because many of us have callously and brutally failed to take part civically. You don't want to run for office, but you don't want to stand behind someone who's willing to run to empower you, but yet you want all these rights. You want your kids to go to the best schools. You want specialized high schools. You want immigration to stop coming to your door. You want help in Guyana. You want people to fight for you with President Trump and the State Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and yet you don't want to put people in position where they can help. And then you come back and you ask for miracles. Oh, I need this and I want that and you're petty Caesar in your own right, stifling other people and being a dog in a manger. We don't need people like you here, sir. We need people who can stand up, people who can join a common cause. And that's to all of us petty Caesars or little monarchs that live in this community and try to say, oh, you know what, I am the unofficial mayor of Richmond Hill, or I'm the unofficial president of Ozone Park, or of Floral Park, or of Queens Village. I am the kahuna. I am the kabaka. You're nothing except BS. So let's get it right. Let's get into democracy. Let's understand how the system works. Let's relearn and re educate ourselves that we need to get involved in the process or stand behind those who fight for us. We need to vote, we need to get involved in a census, and we need to make sure that our voices are counted. And that is the only way. Don't let anyone fool you that they have powers or they have secret phone calls. They don't. We need a representation. We need a representative to give us representation, or representatives in federal, state, and city government. And Arun Singh knows that. Arun, how you doing, brother? Welcome to the show. So this is my exhortation to you. This is my plea to you that you get involved in the process. If it's anything you take from this show, is get involved. Register to vote, take part in the census, go out and vote, and stand behind those who want to represent you because the interests are permanent. The interests are permanent. The person who runs for you, if he wins a seat, the seat will be there for you, for your grandchildren, and for your children for generations to come. So don't be naive, and don't be pagli, as we say in Guyana, and don't be a nimakaram, as we say in Hindi. You need to stand behind each other and fight, or go out and run. There's several seats: congressional, state, assembly, city council. Congressional, assembly, senate, and city council. Run for them. There's more than one seat. We are entitled to two congressional seats, or at least one, two state senate seats, three assembly seats, and about two or three city councils in these districts of minorities and people of a common heritage or common interest under the Voting Rights Act. So go and run for that. Don't pull down someone who's running. You're being naive and you're being brutally, very brutal and very vicious and try to undermine each other like that. And I've been through that. That's why I bring it up to you because I know since 2005, there've always been some idiot running with me or trying to divide our vote, who has divided our vote, who has kept us out of the process, who have cut our feet off, and who have self-destructed in an implosion where the votes, when you count it, is more than the person who won, and it was not a member of this Richmond Hill community. So grow up and smell the coffee. I know what I'm talking about since 2005, 2004. We've been going through this journey where petty Caesars have come involved in the process and have, in a very brutal and selfish way, failed to unite behind candidates who are running. And like I said, if you don't want to support somebody, then go and run. But don't run against each other like you guys did to me. Run for different seats. That way you don't dilute your vote, you don't split the vote. Understand that. Do the math. Don't be like certain people in Guyana are pretending they don't know math and they do it differently. So enough of that. If I sound a bit spirited on this, it is because I'm very upset and I can speak from the heart, and I speak because I want to see this community flourish and I want to see it go forward. That's the only reason why I bring you back to reality and bring you back to common sense. So you guys, the petty Caesars and the pseudo monarchs and the pseudo intellectuals out there, the armchair politicians, when you hear them raise their voice, simple question: why don't you run for public office? Let me repeat that question. When that statement and the question: when these armchair politicians and petty Caesars and lowlifes come to you and tell you that they want this candidate or that candidate, or they have this preference or that preference, or this one is not fit to run, or whatever is their problem, you turn back and you tell them, look them in the eyes like I'm doing to you, and said, why don't you run for public office? Sir or brother, why don't you yourself run for office? Why don't you do it yourself? And if you can, then support that man. Support whosoever's running. I'm not going to be a crab dog. I'm not going to be a dog in the manger. I will help my community. And if he fails, then more power to him. At least he tried. And let me read a poem from you so you can understand. Because I don't want to think we're talking at the very low level here. We're talking at a very high level. And there is a poem written by one of the great leaders of our time, and and it's called and you should go and see it because it's in there. And there are two poems I want to read to you right now as I'm in this on this topic. And one is by Rabindranath Tagore. And Rabindranath Tagore wrote this great poem that is still treasured across the world, and it's called Gitanjali. Now, I had a daughter that died in Guyana, 18 months old. Unfortunately, she died because of Guyana's medical problems there. That's one of the reasons why I came to America, and one of the reasons why I always fight to have a better life and to have others not to go through what I went through. That was all the way back in 1988, but the sorrow and the hurt and the pain still remains. And I named her Gitanjali. And I dedicate this poem to my lost daughter, one who died at 18 months old, 18 months old in Guyana, my first child. And unfortunately, she died from lack of medical care and from issues that was due to lack of medicine and medical development in Guyana. God bless her soul. And Gitanjali by Rabindranath Tagore says, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from a depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Emphasis. So what Rabindranath Tagore, one of the great poets in our heritage and our culture, is telling us that you must open your mind, open your horizons. All the petty Caesars out there and the little gods, you are nothing. You are but the wind. You will blow away in the fullness of time. But those who put themselves into the system and fight will come out like Invictus. This is my last poem for the call Invictus by William Ernest Hemsley. And you also have seen the film Invictus, known with Nelson Mandela, and one of his favorite poems has been Invictus. And Mandela took comfort from this because he was imprisoned for 27 years. And Dr. Chetty Jagan, the father of the Guyanese nation, was imprisoned for 28 years. All of these iconic figures have made it their duty to pass on knowledge and to pass on how they felt during those times and how we should help humanity and mankind to go forward. And Invictus Henley said, out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced, nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeons of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this veil of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And those who follow literary greatness, as I do, and many of you do also, and I compliment you for that, this is where the poet goes into his inner being, his inner strength, his inner soul, that conquers all. And it's the same soul you have, it's the same mind you have, that we can use that mind for spirituality, that we can conquer this virus, that we can conquer shame, that we can conquer evil, that we can rise above circumstances, that we can rise above the effects of life. We can rise and conquer the misfortunes and the pain and the suffering and the illnesses that have been thrown at us and emerge stronger. And throughout my life, that has been a constant cycle of trying to do better, trying to be better, and you should also try to do the same. So these are the two poems I wanted to put together with what I was telling you about, and to think to go and vote, vote, and vote. You have to vote, and you have to register for census. Now, some folks have been asking questions about where to find the unclaimed dead, and I know that a lot of people who are like homeless and unfortunate brothers and sisters, and I really cry and weep for them. Those who have not even had someone to claim their bodies, those of them who not even had a soul to cry a tear for them, and even so now we also have people who can't even have a proper funeral, a decent burial, a decent sending home. These are all things that are terrible and painful, and they remind us how our how hard it is on us, how tough this time has been, and how crucial it is that we stand together as one, that we help each other out, that we be each brothers and sisters keeper, that we have each other's backs. There's no other time than a time like this, that we need us all together, combined, and in peace and in harmony. And I've been asked, how do we locate those figures? And my first response was to call 311 and give them the information, the name of the person, their description, their height, and so forth, their color of the eyes, color of the hair, last clothes worn, some distinguishing features, whether they had any kind of scar, and if you have dental records. These are all things that can help in identifying the dead. Some have gone unclaimed, some have gone unheralded, and without even a decent goodbye. And hence we have to call 311 to locate these folks. I know that in Hart Island, in Potter's Field, there, in Hart Island, they have been burying people there in mass graves, and it's a horrible sight to see. It's horrible, it's terrible, that people on marked graves are being bundled with each other like that, like sardines packed in the earth, with no proper ceremony, no burial. It's a very painful thing to think of, that mankind has sunk to the level of this, where we are mere statistics. We are mere people who have lived. No prayers, no ceremonies, nothing, just being thrown in the ground. I hope and pray that we don't get these situations again. Came upon us suddenly, and unfortunately, um, many things are being worked out as the pain and the sorrows flow upon us. So I pray for strength and guidance to our leaders, the governor and the mayor, to make the right decisions, and the president of the United States to make the right decisions and to cater for everyone and to make sure that everyone is treated in a way that they can be counted and that they can die with some sort, be buried with some with a dignity that it didn't have during their lifetime. And that's a wake up call that this virus teaches us, that we should try to treat each other equally and fairly, that we're all one, that nobody's better than the other, and that a wake up lesson, a wake up call that we are all equal and that we're all God's children. And none of us is better than the other. And those who think that they're better than anyone, you really do have a problem with reality. And just turn on your TV and look what's going on, and ask yourself, where are we in this process of time? And you will find the answers that we need to all go out there and help each other, and yet be protected and being careful and concerning for each other. So anything with unemployment insurance, though I understand there's a clogged up lines, the lines will eventually free up. You can keep trying, but don't give up. You will get that unemployment insurance. You will get those things that you're trying to get eventually. Um, the rent assistance, mortgage assistance. I'm just asking tenants not to exploit landlords. Landlords, you need to meet tenants halfway, work with each other, try to assist each other so that you don't get a situation where people are taking advantage of each other, and that we can all live in harmony. Landlords have mortgages to pay, or their homes can be foreclosed. They still have to pay their mortgages with the banks, whether it's at now or at the back end. Those 3 months will be added on to their mortgages. So we all need to be caring about each other and not to exploit each other. And I know that there are some tenants who have genuine situations out there, and those who do not have, those who want to exploit landlords, and that is bad. Now, I also want to touch on that topic of the price gouging, which has been happening a lot in our communities. And the supermarkets have taken up their prices. You'll be amazed how prices have gone up by 50%, 100%. They're actually allowed like 10% for their carrying costs, in this time, 10%. But many of them are exploiting. They're only looking at the bottom line. It's all about the money. They don't even give their staff, these supermarkets, the outfits, the personal protection equipment, the PPEs, even the sanitary mask or the sanitizers. They don't give them anything. A few I've seen have put up some kind of plastic mechanism, but then the virus can go around the plastic. The virus can go over the plastic. It can go around. So that may be one aspect of safety that is commendable, but you need to outfit all of your employees with a new mask every day. A new mask every day should be made the law for all supermarket owners. They make a lot of money in there, and it is very unconscionable and exploitative for them not to at least outfit these students and people, folks who work. Many of them are young people. Many are old people who can't help it, but don't want to go on the on food stamps and have some pride and dignity in them. And I understand that, and that is a problem. They need to be taken care of. Azad Ahmad, how are you, brother? Salaam alaikum. I'll be calling you later. I was trying to reach you earlier, but I'll talk to you privately. And that is a problem that we have, that these people are not getting any kind of consideration. They're not getting any love and respect. They're bringing in the dollars. They're working. They're bringing in the profits for their employees, for their employers, the supermarkets, and yet they're not getting what they deserve under law and under all morality and conscience. And that is at least a face mask and gloves to do their work in the supermarkets. And I've seen that for myself at Futong, on Lefferts, at Futong, on the other Futong at 109th Street, sorry, 111th Street, and there's one at 149 Avenue, and I've seen that on Liberty Avenue also by 108th Street. So I call upon them and also the pharmacists to equip their workers and make sure that they can remain open and help people. They do perform an essential service, and I understand that and I appreciate that. But at the same time, you've got to outfit your workers and not exploit them. So if you there's another issue in our community with hate crimes. And actually, someone did tell me that that I may have brought the virus from India or some nonsense like that. And then I heard him accuse another Chinese nationalist of Chinese ethnicity of bringing the virus here. Well, whosoever brought the virus is not of any concern or of any moment apart from the scientists who are looking into that. It is a hate crime, brothers and sisters. It is a hate crime. Let me repeat that. The difference in hate crimes is that the sanctions, the jail time is more severe than other crimes. So hate crimes is not really lightly. DA Katz, to her credit, has come out and condemned hate crimes. Letitia James, the Attorney General, who's been doing an excellent job, a very proactive and capable and compelling Attorney General, Letitia James, she has a hotline. So you can call 311 or you can call the DA's office or 311, tell them you want to report a hate crime. Take pictures, take recordings of that, anybody calling you these vicious names and racist terms and things like that. And then you call the Human Rights Department of the Attorney General's office. The Human Rights of the Attorney General's office is New York State and every state, because I have people from Florida, Canada, Guyana, Trinidad, Holland, UK, Canada, Oklahoma, San Francisco, California, and a few other places here. Wherever you are, call your state hotline. Simple as that. Look it up online, Google. But for New York State, it's 800-771-7755. That's 800-771-7755. And it's a toll-free number. Just like the census form, it's an online free toll-free number, sorry. 844-330-2020. That's the one for the census. 844-330-2020. And you can actually fill out your census forms online or on the phone. And we never had that privilege before. So make use of it. It fits in here quite helpful with the coronavirus. And hence, you can stay at home and do this. You don't have to go to the post office to post your mail. You don't have to touch the paper and thereby incur any contact with the virus. You can do it online on your phone, and you can do it online uh, with your own computer or your cell phone. So that's a great blessing in terms of filling out the census, and you must do it because it behoves you to do that. And then you have the New York State Attorney General, the hate crimes hotline, 800-771-7755. Last time, 800-771-7755. And you can call that. And that is how you get that situation solved. Now, I've been besieged with calls also when I wear my country where I was born, the flag of Guyana, where you were born, and I'm flying it at half mast. And I'll tell you why, and I'll give you some other information on why it's being flown half mast. Whenever a flag is flown half mast, it's a sign of mourning. It's a sign of pain. It's a sign of concern. And there's no alternative for me than to wear this flag at half mast because this is the problem we have in Guyana. Guyana has had 5 months of turmoil, um, dictatorship, deprivation of democracy, and brutal uh, theft of democracy there. And many of you have been on many chat groups and so forth, but there's only one solution basically that I want to advance to you. And I've been telling you this, and many people have not been following me. They have just been engaging with each other in their petty, back room or backdoor fights, which has nothing to do with this. Now, there is a gentleman by the name of Mike Pompeo, the Honorable Mike Pompeo. He's the U.S. Secretary of State. He's the right hand of the President of the United States. He has given 3 statements stating that he's going to involve he's going to inflict serious sanctions on those who want to thwart democracy in Guyana. And I'm saying this as a person who was born in Guyana with a love for my country, who proudly holds American citizenship today, but who still will fight for the people of Guyana because many of my constituents here in Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, Briarwood, Queens Village, and Flora Park, and in other parts of America do have that love and concern for Guyana. And rightly so, and I understand that because their navel string is buried there and they do have that love for their country. And that's a legitimate concern. And the American government has shown great interest, to its credit, to ensure that America, like so many other countries, also, the democracy is brought to Guyana or that democracy is observed. And it's been 5 weeks now, and we have had no democracy. We have had no final count. The democratic process is being stymied and held hostage by Claremont Mingo and by Lowenfield, who came up with a ridiculous proposition that it would take 158 days, 158 days to count ballots. He is clearly out of his mind. As a matter of fact, this man should be facing criminal charges of treason and obstruction of the governmental process of Guyana. And unless the DPP in Guyana does this to several people there, from Harry right to Harry wrong, as we say, there will not be any movement, there will not be any fairness, and there will be no return to democracy. The country will be held hostage. It will get no international help. It will get no international trade. It will not get any help with coronavirus. People will continue to die. People will continue to get sick. People will not be concerned. The few who are ministers and cabinet people will continue to draw salaries. They will continue to live the high life. They will continue to benefit from an illegal regime, and the world and Guyanese will be suppressed. Well, this has got to change because this is nonsense. This is treason. This is undemocratic. This is unacceptable. Now I'll show you what you have to do. All of you out there who want to see democracy in Guyana, this is not a time to fight each other in your pettiness and and pretending to be quasi-intellectuals or pseudo-intellectuals or armchair politicians. It's a simple solution. You can't bring the solution, so you need to get on board and do this. Now, this is my cell phone, and I'm going to call Mike Pompeo in front of you now and leave a message so you can understand how it's done. Now, this here is Mike Pompeo's number, the U.S. Secretary of State. You see that? Mike Pompeo, U.S. Secretary of State. Let's look at it very clearly. You have it there. You see it, right? Mike Pompeo, U.S. Secretary of State. His number's at the bottom there, 202-647-4000. 202-647-4000. So we'll call Mike Pompeo now, and I'll show you literally how to leave a message. You may not get him live. It's hardly likely you get such a top functionary of the United States government live, especially on a weekend, but you could still leave a message. So let's get to that. Let's get to Mike Pompeo. Here, see? Mike Pompeo, 202-647-4000. And now I'm going to call him. And it's ringing. And I'll play it so you can get an idea.
The Department of State. Please listen carefully as our menu options have changed. Press 1 for the passport information. Press 2 for the visa department. Press 3 for the authentication department. Press 4 to speak with the Department of State operator.
So I'll press 4 because we need to speak to the Department of State. We're not calling about passports or any issues. I will speak to the operator.
This call is subject to be monitored and or recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. If you remain on the line to be connected to an operator, you are consenting to be monitored. Good evening, Department of State. May I help you?
Hi, good evening. My name is Albert Baldeo. I'm a Guyanese citizen and also an American citizen, and I was calling about the Guyana situation, the hijack of democracy there by the GCOM representatives, and the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo's promise to help us
Let me transfer through the message. One moment. Welcome to the U.S. Department of State's comment line. Please leave your message after the beep. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Albert Baldeo. I'm a community leader in Richmond Hill, a large Guyanese expatriate population in the diaspora. I'm calling on behalf of all Guyanese and all nationals who are vesting in Guyana. There is lack of democracy there, and the government is being hijacked. There has been no conclusion to the content, and we ask for the Secretary of State to cut involved, and therefore that Mike Pompeo take action. Thank you very much, and I look forward to having Mike Pompeo. We lobby him, we ask him to intervene in Guyanese elections and make sure he's aware of the situation so that he can have the votes counted and the legitimate winner of the president be declared.
Length recorded. To re-record, press 2, 1. To approve as is, press pound. To make private, press 1. To make priority, press 2. To send, press priority. To make private, press 1. To remove priority status, press 2. To send, press not priority. To make private, press 1. To make priority, press 2. To send, press priority. To make private, press 1. To remove priority status, press 2. To send, press pound. Thank you for leaving your message. To access your mailbox, press.
So I've just left a message with the Secretary of State. This is like my fifth message that I've left to Mike Pompeo, the U.S. Secretary of State. Now, you can also call the White House. You can call Congressman Meeks. You can also call Albio Ceres, and you can call Congresswoman Yvette Clarke the same way. These are all people who sit and can help, and Senator Chuck Schumer. They can all help. They can all put pressure on the undemocratic forces in Guyana. They can force them to adhere to democracy. We're not asking them to do anything illegal. We're asking them to do what is just and what is right. We're merely asking them to make sure that democracy, which has always been a problem in Guyana, and they know that since Cheddi Jagan time, 28 years Cheddi Jagan was kept out of office. 28 years. A very long time, an entire lifetime, and came back and won. The father of the nation. And that is why I fly my Guyana flag where I was born at half mast. It does not denigrate, and this is flying at half mast. And we can bring it a bit lower because we're very sad. The longer it is, the more attack it is on democracy. And as you can see, it's at half mast or three-quarter mast. It's coming right down. And this is a shame. This is treason. This is a criminal act. This is the real crimes. This is not bogus crimes you put on people. This is where one lunatic and one maniac, Claremont Mingo, and the CEO Lowenfield have hatched a conspiratorial plot, possibly with the chairwoman of the GCOM, Claudette Singh, and the three commissioners there to hijack democracy, to deprive an entire country of 850,000 people, three-quarters of a million people, from having their democratic right. This is not just one person. This is the entire population of Guyana and affects those outside of Guyana, those who live over in New York, UK, Canada. There are a large amounts of Guyanese who left because of the problems we had in Guyana, because of the dictatorship of the regimes before. And when Cheddi came to power after 28 years, many of us had already built a second life in Guyana, outside of Guyana. And then these people came back, these charlatans came and decided to hold by rigging the votes. The Carter Center, to its credit, restored democracy in Guyana. The United Kingdom, Canada, the OAS, the ABC states, the CARICOM, just about everybody, every single person internationally and Guyanese citizens of standing have condemned this farce. That the election is a big farce. That the counting of the elections itself was properly conducted. Their reports show that they were very satisfied, all sides, the way the elections ended that day on election day. But it was the counting where the spreadsheets and the tampering with the figures and the invention of numbers and the deceitful acts of Mingo began to take root. And then you had all these frivolous filings in the court. and you had all these back and forth, and you had the president himself, the caretaker president, who himself is head of a de facto regime because that regime was voted out by a no confidence vote. So he was merely standing on one toe, not even a leg. He was standing on a toe after no confidence vote. And he pushed it and he pushed it and he pushed it in our faces, down our throats, to the point where he became to be a hypocrite. And is calling CARICOM and then sending them back and then saying this and saying that and giving his people that his own son-in-law came and said enough is enough. You need to have these votes counted. We have seen through this rigging and this fraud and this scam and the deprivation over the Guyanese people. And it's got to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is by calling the United States Secretary of State. Not you and your little cabals and your little backroom doors and those who are trying to get oil money and oil resources and trying to sell your country and going to blackmail the people and sell them down the river, the rice farmers and the sugar workers and those who are entitled just like you, Guyanese nationals, to have a stake in their country because their navel string is buried there. They have as much right as you, all of you panderers and pilferers and people who try to buy these politicians and have somebody. That has got to stop. This nonsense has engulfed the country. We are an embarrassment to the world. It's an embarrassment to our democracy, or so called democracy. It's an infringement of our constitutional rights in Guyana and in international law and against the United Nations, of which Guyana is a signatory. It's also a fundamental breach. It's bordering on war criminality that people who behave like this should be tried by the International Court of Justice and by the United Nations Human Rights Court. All of these sins and commissions, all of these barefaced criminal acts should be answered for, should be accounted for. People should be made answerable for that. So where do we go from here? The only person in Guyana who has exclusive jurisdiction over crime and any crime that is committed, be it murder, treason, stealing an election, hate crime, customs law, whatever it may be, even a cuss case, even a bicycle thief case, even a bicycle without light case, or more serious things like maiming and murder. Because I was a prosecutor in Guyana. I was one of the top prosecutors there for years. That was my first job, prosecuting. My life was attempted 3 times. Thank God I survived. I was a senior state counsel, a prosecutor and a magistrate, the youngest to ever been appointed. And I had a very stellar record, if I may say that. Many of my cases have been reported in the Guyana Law Reports and in the West Indian Reports. So I know about the powers of a DPP. Like I told you, I was a police legal advisor. I held that position for 2 years, way before Claudette Singh became the police legal advisor, and then she became a justice of appeal, and then she became this GCOM chair, not chair, sorry, but the head functionary at GCOM, chairperson. It's a shame because she's equipped with knowledge of what can happen if you breach the laws to that extent. And the director of public prosecutions, Shalimar Hack, needs to step up to the plate. You can't abdicate your duty or be a malpractice, what is called legal malpractice, or you forfeit your rights, or you abscond or abdicate your constitutional and public duties to an entire country. You cannot turn your back the other way when you're the director of public prosecutions, law, safety, and democracy. An entire vote. This is not a criminal case that affects one or two persons, as is normally the case, or one family, as happens in murder cases, and the wider society at large in a bigger sociological and law and society context argument. But this is an election that definitively and by its very nature extends to the people of Guyana, the entire population there, the voters, the Guyanese who live outside, the expatriates, the oil companies, the investors, the United Nations, Commonwealth, the CARICOM, the Caribbean, all are consumed, all are involved in this process because Guyana has to be a part and is a part of all of these global economies and bodies. So when the DPP then turns her back or closes a blind eye or refuses to prosecute people who have committed treason, people like Lowenfield and Mingo and these three commissioners and whosoever is doing this, and like Volga Lawrence, then there's a problem. It's malpractice. It's an abdication of your constitutional duties. And if you can't do them, then resign. Have someone else do them. Have someone do those prosecutions. There must be somebody in Guyana who's worth something to do it. You have a lot of lawyers there. If not, call me. I'll do it pro bono. I'll do it on a volunteer basis. You don't have to pay me, and I'll do it fairly. If the evidence and the facts lead to the fact that there's obstruction of government or there's theft of an election, that amongst the treason or to some other felony, then those people must be charged and must be made accountable. And 5 weeks is too long a time. I have seen other cases like the Arnold Rampersad case and the Ivan Sukram treason case and many other cases, the Boj Prasad case, Boj Pertap case, where these folks were charged for treason and for other crimes that were not even crimes, they were political vendettas. And yet they were tried and tried again. In the case of Arnold Rampersad, he was tried 3 times because the government of the day, Burnham, refused to accept that a man was not guilty. He wanted to send a message. Then he started blowing up people like Sir Walter Rodney to send an even clearer message that he was going to be touched as a dictator. And this is exactly what is happening in Guyana. Now, is Guyana a country of mice? Is Guyana a country not of men and of civilized people? Surely we can do better than that. Guyana has got, remember, we are a sovereign country. We proudly tout our independence. We wanted the British off our backs, and rightly so. I have no problem with that. I've always thought that every country must be independent, and I've never respected the monarchy, but that's another talk for another day. No one should be born a prince or a privileged person. I believe in hard work, like I did, pull myself up by the bootstraps to be able to represent people. And hence, this lack of democracy, it's a major problem in Guyana, and it's going to continue to be a problem, and it's going to continue to fester, and it's going to continue to be a sore in the international community, and it's going to continue to be a blight on all of us. And it's going to be a shame. It is a shame that we who proudly proclaim our independence and our freedom as both an independent country and as a republic. As a matter of fact, we're the only cooperative republic of the world. Cooperative republic of the world. So we got to cooperate now in Guyana. The DPP has got to cooperate. She's got to do her job or resign. Let someone else do the job. Bobby Rako, welcome to the show. All I'm saying is this. You need to have someone who discharges the functions for which they are paid. The DPP is a public servant. When I was in that office as the third in command and then became the second in command after Ian Chang and then at one time it was George Jackman, a very experienced prosecutor who taught me a lot of things. The onus is on that public servant. You can't ask the Attorney General or the Solicitor General or some other private person or some other lawyer to institute private criminal charges when you are seized of the constitutional mandate and the exclusive powers and duties You have the exclusive duties, Madam Prosecutor. No one else has. What are you waiting for? Are you going to allow Guyana to go into the abyss of unconstitutionality, dictatorship, and rubbish? Are you going to be allowed Guyana to be flushed down the toilet by these criminals, by these people who hold Guyana to ransom? You've had Congressman Meeks and Meeks and Clark that went there, Albio Sires. They all went and said the same thing. The Carter Center, oh, yes, everybody has said, all the foreign observers, all the accredited foreign observers who command standing and respect in the world have said that the votes need to be counted. And that is why, brothers and sisters, the only solution left for us now is to call Mike Pompeo of the United States government. Mike Pompeo is aware of the situation. Mike Pompeo knows what's going on. He is, as we would say in America, he's cocked and loaded, or loaded and cocked, however you may put it, means that he's ready to move. But we need to bring him up to date amidst all this virus threat and endemic and pandemic. Of course, many of these folks, and rightly so, have their own country to be concerned about. But at the same time, he's the head of the foreign affairs. He's the president's right hand person and a very powerful individual when it comes to carrying out the policy of the United States, one of which is to see that all countries have democracy and don't end up like Venezuela, where the people in Venezuela have left their shores to go and beg for food and have become prostitutes and forced to go to Guyana. It's a clear example in our eyes what's going on. When Venezuelan beggars come to Guyana because of how the country treated them, a very rich country that has oil. Nigeria, same thing. So we don't want Guyana to go down that road. We have been a poor country. We have been a third world country. The time has come when we must grasp with both hands the opportunity that divine intervention has given us, that we can locate and be seized of all resources that will put us on the map financially, economically, and otherwise, and politically. And Dubai and all these countries are great examples for us to follow, that Guyana can be similarly blessed and Guyana can reap the harvest of its natural resources. And we need to make sure that those investments that have been gone there start as quickly as possible because oil prices are dropping. And another thing is that the coronavirus is happening out there. The coronavirus is going to spread. Luckily for Guyana, it is not as densely populated as other countries of the world, and I'm very impressed with the amount of masks that have been made by people free of charge, and they've been sending. And Guyanese have been true to their principle of giving a shirt off their back to someone. We as Guyanese, proud Guyanese people, and of that Caribbean heritage and Indian heritage, will give the shirt on our backs, off our backs, to a person who needs it. That has been our experience, and that is training, and that is what we've been brought up to give others and help each other out, and give to a stranger a meal in your home. That is the Guyanese way of life. That's the Guyanese philosophy, and God bless us for having that. But we need help now. We need to understand that we have to do that. And I'm very pleased that there's been such leadership in Guyana. And I want to compliment the Guyanese people for making sure that everyone and most of the people, especially in the rural areas, are getting the masks and are observing and are getting some resources there, basic resources that will help to stop the flow of the virus. But I have a problem now in the Minister of Health. I believe her name is Valda or Volga Lawrence, whatever it is. I've never met this woman. I've heard a lot of bad things about her. I think President Granger, or what you call him, caretaker president, whosoever the cabinet or ex-cabinet, because they're no longer functioning, should fire this woman. She is a woman who first said that you must have a party card in order to get a job. And that is whether that is so, she should never be saying things like that. It's as divisive and dismissive and racist. as it can ever be. And when she comes out and says that anyone who has the virus has to be then certified by her, basically the process that makes her certify who needs help or who's characterized as dying or at risk, that rapes all the medical and legal parameters, all the World Health Organization standards, all the basic Hippocratic oath that doctors take and nurses adhere to. Valda Lawrence has turned the country on its head, and she must be removed. She must be fired. She must be removed from Guyana. What utter nonsense is this? That this woman, at best a woman with no perceivable qualifications, sits as Minister of Health, then tries to steal an election and comes out with a lot of controversial and illegal tactics, and then decides to decide who gets help or who has the virus or not, contrary to the doctors. Who the hell is this woman? And why is she still in office? How come she's still a minister? When the entire world is plagued with a virus and she is there to play God and say whether someone is ill or not, and at all final papers of people's sicknesses are sent to her, they are not publicly given to other people. There's no public record. There's no public notice. She covers up or hides the statistics and is just waiting to probably call a state of emergency suddenly so that they can then curtail the counting of the ballots. What kind of illegal, insipid, deceitful, fraudulent plot is playing out in Guyana? When we very well know that this woman, if it touches a certain amount of deaths or amount of cases, she, as Minister of Health, can then inveigle a call to say that there's a public emergency and hence we have to have a government of necessity. And therefore, the cabal, this illegal regime that was voted out by the people but doesn't want to accept that, will continue in office. And then you've got Lowenfield, on the other hand, said, yes, we'll need 158 days to count the ballots. What vicious, asinine, and obviously illegal plot is this that has been allowed to unfold? That is why, brothers and sisters, you see through it. It's not rocket science. It's a deceit of man. It's the wicked ways of mankind that Guyana now has to go down the drain, and Guyana is flying at half mast. And the Guyana's people are held to ransom. Poor country where many of us left because of the political, medical, and legal issues there. To continue to suffer this way is beyond the pale, and that has got to stop. And the only way it can stop is by calling Mike Pompeo. I have shown you in this video, those of us who have just joined, go forward or just pick up your phone, pick up your cell phone, and you call Mike Pompeo. And I'll do it again as a final closing to you. The more messages you leave, the better it is for you. This is Mike Pompeo's number on my phone. It's the Secretary of State. You don't have to be privileged to have his number. His number is public. That is the number there. And the number is quite simple number. 202, that's Washington, D.C. 202 647 4000. 202 647 4000. Simple number. And I will show you that I will call it now. You call a number. It's ringing. Mike Pompeo, I'll put it on speaker so you can all learn this.
You have reached the Department of State. Please listen carefully as our menu options have changed. Press 1 for the passport information. Press 2 for the visa department. Press 3 for the authentication department. Press 4 to speak with the Department of State operator.
So I press 4 to speak to the operator.
This call is subject to be monitored and or recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. If you remain on the line to be connected to an operator, you are consenting to be monitored.
It's after 7 p.m.
Good evening from the state.
Hi, good evening, sir. I wanted to speak to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
Welcome to the U.S. Department of State's comment line. Please leave your message after the beep. Thank you.
Hello, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. This is Albert Baldeo. I'm calling on behalf of the entire Guyanese population and the diaspora. We need to have a recount of the votes in Guyana and to the president, the rightful president to be installed. That has not been done. Democracy has been hijacked, and there's lots of other illegalities going on there. Please ensure, sir, you can call me back at 917-548-1055. Please intercede in the Guyana elections and make sure after 5 months that it can be a proper count and the rightful president can be installed. Thank you very much, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. My name is Albert Baldeo, and I thank you very much.
To re-record, press 2-1. To approve as is, press pound. To make private, press 1. To make priority, press 2. To send, priority. To make private, press 1. To remove priority status, press 2. To send, press pound. Thank you for leaving your message. To access your mailbox, press.
So that's all you have to do in terms of getting Mike Pompeo. The more calls you make, the better it will be. If you want to remain anonymous, you can do that. But it's better for you to leave your name and number. If you really care about democracy, if you really want to see it done, if you really want to see Guyana have democracy, you have to call Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo, that is President Trump's right hand in terms of making democracy in Guyana. If you want to see the flag flying full again, if you want to see happiness with this flag, if you want to see it flow in the wind, the golden arrowhead to have happiness again, if you want to see democracy there, then it boils down to one basic thing, that's calling Mike Pompeo. I have done a lot of international courses as a lawyer, and I urge you, this is how international law works. This is how countries who are the police people or the policemen of the world can help others in times of need. They are there, and you have to look at the actions of bigger countries and smaller countries. But in this particular case, where the evidence to show that Guyana's election is being stolen and hijacked, then it demands and it necessitates intervention by the superior powers that be, superior countries, countries that are stronger, that can help smaller countries like Guyana to get democracy and to get help so that the people, the working class people, the voters, and the families that live in the diaspora, many of whom call me every day here in Richmond Hill and Ozone Park and Briarwood and Queens Village and Floral Park and in Florida and Canada and California and Texas, all these, and Canada and United Kingdom, all these countries where Guyanese among that have played a great part in the economy and in the development of these bigger countries, where we all need to have people who can help us there. So thank you very much, Mr. Ricky Ram, Saeed Wazim, Ricky Ram, about cleaning up Liberty Avenue. That is the work of everybody. You've got to do that. Many people are throwing their stuff on Liberty Avenue, and that's a bad thing. That is not something we need to be proud of. So we've got to stop putting the throwing our garbage on Liberty Avenue. That is not a dumping ground. That's not a place with the dump your garbage. Saeed Wazim, stay safe. Keshav Singh. People are apprehensive because of residency status. I understand that, but like I said, with the census, there's no way or there is no provision that they will do that. So that you needn't be afraid of that. And Samantha Singh, thank you for your wonderful comments. Arun Singh, for being a community leader and doing my part. It is my duty to do so. To whom much is given, much is expected. I always give back. I'm not one of these petty Caesars who sit behind closed doors and have a cabal of friends. I speak for the people. The people have empowered me, and they're the people that I represent. And Sabine Wright, yeah, I agree with you, for the Public Advocate's Office. I hope you tell Jemani Williams, our friend and colleague, in government that we need to have that 9/11 similar type fund passed for all these people who have lost. Um, and Roni saying, you're right, these people need to go to jail because what they're doing is treason. It's a criminal act and it's illegal. And Joey Samaru, we have so much problems in America. Why Guyana cannot solve their own problems? Well, Guyana needs help. And you can see, and that's one reason probably why you left and left. There was a lot of bullyism and thuggery going on in Guyana. Chetty Jagan, the person who is the father of the nation, always said, do not get involved with that aspect because you will lose. I don't know if you remember the riots of 1963. There's a lot of polarization of race in Guyana, but that is something that we can't go down that road. That will not lead to any solutions. Guyana needs help, and that is why, as American citizens and as Guyanese living in America, we need to help, and help is very easy. It is better for Mike Pompeo to intercede and for you to make that call, Joey, than for a barrel of food to go down there. Comparatively speaking, it's good to send your barrels, but there comes a time when you need to call on the higher powers. And the more practical way of doing that is to make Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, on behalf of the United States government, to take actions. He has already promised serious actions. This is IPAS, and like I said in Guyana, it is RAS pass. 5 weeks and you still can't count the votes. We've had a history of rigging in Guyana, so it's not something that that hasn't been happening. It's something that's very clear to all and sundry, and those who are not ostriches with their head buried in the sand. And I'm not saying, Joey, that you are one of them, but I'm a man of practical actions, and that's how I become a leader in this community. Um, I do positive things and I do meaningful things, and I know how to access power and government and how to bring it, make it use, for our benefit as taxpayers and as constituents, than to talk in a teacup and not have anything done, or to bring a few meals for somebody and feel that you've changed the world. That doesn't change the world. It's great. It's great things to be doing, but it doesn't change the world. It doesn't change the paradigm of institutional racism and bullyism. And that is why we have to follow these things and make sure that they come to fruition, and that we can make sure that we help in doing this. So, brothers and sisters, thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening to the program. It's been a pleasure being with you here. You can share my video, you can share the ideas of it, and you can also reply to me, inbox me if you have any comments, criticisms, or anything going forward. I always believe in going forward. Um, I'm merely the messenger. I'm merely the fighter for you. It takes a lot. Like I said, I don't get paid. I was the first elected district leader in this community. Our community was cheated of a state senate seat in 2008, going all the way back. I've continued to fight. I've continued to fight when others would have run, when others would have said enough is enough. I don't really care about these people. They're in their own boat, just like that comment from Joey said that Guyana must solve their own problems. I've always believed in helping others less fortunate than myself. That's why I went to Queen's College, one of the first of Queen's College in Guyana, a very elite great school that produced scholars and champions and heroes and martyrs. Chetty Jagan, um, just about all the presidents of Guyana, good and bad, went to Queen's College, but it's been an institution of great learning. And from that, my professors there always taught me that you're all blessed. You're a select group of students that have come here at the age of 10 at this elite school with a great history called Queen's College of Guyana, and that you must give back, sorry, you must give back to your communities, because to whom much is given, much is expected. And I've done that. Like I said, I've never received any payments. I've never asked for money. I've never asked for wages. I've spent a lot of money in politics just to empower you. And I've done that because our community needs empowerment, our community needs help, our community needs a voice. I have seen the bigger picture. I've been down that road. I have taken the bullets for you. I have stood where none of you have ever gone. I've walked through territory that never had any footprints for me. And I've been a pioneer and a trailblazer proudly and spiritedly. and with the inspiration of the Almighty, whom I thank for giving me the message and the vision to lead you and lead you to a land of better opportunity and to have a better quality of life. I ask that anyone wants to do that, I will gladly join hands with you. No negativity, but just positive stuff in order to go forward to have a voice. If you want to run for office and you want to make sure that we can have a voice, I'll be there with you. I'll be there to help you. I'll be here to guide you. I'll be there to mentor you. Just inbox me or give me a call, 718-529-2300. That's 718-529-2300. It's a 24/7 hotline where I use for my community work as a community leader and civil rights advocate for the Baldeo Foundation. My foundation has a 24-hour hotline, 718-529-2300, and it's to help the community, to help issues like these, to fight the coronavirus, to help empower us, take part in the census, make sure you vote, 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 and become citizens. That way you enjoy the fullness of the American dream. And with that, salam alaikum. Um, Greetings to you. May the Almighty bless you. Khalid Murshad Rizvi, welcome, brother. You might have to go back to the start of the program because I'm about to wrap up now. But assalamu alaikum to you, and also namaste, Sitaram, Jai Shri Ram to all my Hindu brothers and sisters. And may we continue to have friends and to my Jewish friends. We just celebrated Happy Passover to you, Shalom, and now Happy Easter. And yesterday we celebrated or we observed Good Friday, the most solemn day in the calendar. And we learned from that how one man gave his life and gave his liberties and saved the world for what he believed in and shed his blood to save us from our sins. And with that in mind, let us reflect and let us hope and pray that we can take a page out of the book of Christ and understand and realize that all the scriptures, all the theological gratifications that have made us into a civilized society point to one thing, and that is do good over evil. Let good triumph over evil. Let good be your guiding thoughts, and you must be there for others. Help others who are less fortunate than yourselves. The world is a cycle, it comes around in free motion. And remember, the arc of justice is long, but it bends towards justice. The moral arc is long, but it bends towards justice. You can like my page, People for Baldeo. Like I said, I do this on a volunteer basis. I don't get paid for this. I don't request money for it. I don't need money for it. The empowerment and gratitude and gratification that comes from helping your fellow man and from leading people and showing them and teaching them and mentoring them and guiding them along the lines and fighting for them. There's no money that can reward someone from the fullness of their heart. And with that in mind, brothers and sisters, I bid you adieu. I bid you goodbye. I ask you to continue to be strong and continue to keep the faith. Inshallah, Namaste, and God's grace be with you as we celebrate a happy Easter where Christ rose from the dead and rose triumphantly over evil. So may we as a society rise above the virus, the illegality of the elections in Guyana, and all these problems that surround us. And may God bless us all. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. Care for each other, wash your hands, wash your groceries, stay safe, stay home, and let's continue to pray for each other and help each other. Goodbye.